Welcome, everybody, to the March 2nd, 2023 Board of Public Works and Safety meeting. Roll call, please. Here.
Here.
Are there any conflict of interest statements? No. Number 4, approval of minutes of the meeting of February 16th, 2023 and February 22nd, 2023.
Recommendation to approve the minutes for the meetings of February 16th, 2023 and February 22nd of 2023.
And I concur. Number 5, bid openings. The first one is for State Line Closure Project. And it looks like we have 3. The first one is from Reith Riley from Gary, Indiana. Let's see here. I always love looking for this stuff. I think we're good now. Have the bid proposal. Have the bid bond. And have the Form 96. Is that it? What else are we looking for? And the non-collusion affidavit. Let's see here now. I don't know if it was on that first page, this one right here. The first bid, again, for Reith Riley is $542,004.08. Again, that's $542,004.08. The next one is from Milestone Contractors from Griffith, Indiana. The Form 96. The non-collusion affidavit. My fingers are, I don't know if I went past it already. Let me see here. What else am I looking for? The bid bond? And the bid proposal. Bid bond. And the bid bond. And their bid is that? This is Milestone Contractors. And their bid is $723,004.58. $723,004.58. It's okay. The last one is from Gary Up, and that's from Gary, Indiana. You have the Form 96. the non-collusion affidavit, the bid proposal, and the bid bond. And their bid is $747,500. $747,500.
Morning to the board. I'd ask that you refer the bids to our consultant, First Group Engineering, and Scott Pruitt with First Group is here for review, tabulation, and recommendation.
I make a recommendation that we refer the bids to the consultant for review, tabulation, and recommendation.
And I will concur.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to the bidders that submitted bids today. I do appreciate it.
Okay, moving on to number 2. For 7232 Grand Avenue and 7236 Grand Avenue.
Good morning to the board. Did we receive any quotes, or I'm sorry, proposals?
No.
Okay, so just I want to note for the record that no proposals were received on these 2 vacant lots. Law department will now be considering what to do next with the lots and how to negotiate those. So just for the record, no proposals were received. Thank you.
Yeah. Do we need to make an action, Kev, or are you just making that? Okay. Okay, moving on to number 3. Request for quotes, council chambers audio-video upgrade project. And there was only just one, right? There was only one. It's from, is that Gel Audio? J-E-L? Yeah. Gel Audio. And their quote is $65,496.39. Again, that's $65,496.39.
A request that that quote be referred to the IT department for their review and recommendation next Thursday.
Recommendation for Gel Audio's quote to be referred to IT for their review and recommendation at the next meeting.
Right. And I concur. Okay. Moving on, number 6, matters from other department heads or their representatives.
Mr. President, on behalf of the Law Department, I have 2 matters. The first is 5554 Walter. I don't know if Ms. Botello is present here today. Okay, she's not, so I don't, that can be, I won't even bring that up. She mentioned she would be here, but she's not.
Okay.
So, Linda, can you reach out to her, see if she'd like it on at another time, and then we can set it on the agenda properly. Thank you. Next is 4407 Baltimore. It's my understanding that the owners are present here today. If they are, if they could come up. Come on up. So it's my understanding that the current owner, so back, little history here, right? Back in November, we had placed on the property a demolition is imminent notice. We sent out a letter saying 10 days because no work had been done on the property. At that time, Mr. Luter recommended an extension on the rehab agreement. The board approved that extension. Since that time, it's my understanding no permits have been pulled, no work has been done on the property, and I have some photos of the property that have been taken this morning, actually, and I'm going to present these to the board. Just showing these to, your name, sir?
Abel.
Mr. Abel. So I'm going to present these to the board. This has been a kind of a long and winding road on this property. Abel has not been the owner the whole time, but he has been the owner since last year, I believe, and has been under 2 rehab agreements, one that expired in November, late last year, and then one that it has already expired since that date. This is a property that, in, I believe, some people's opinion, probably shouldn't have ever even been given a rehab. But of course, we do want to give, and this is no fault of the inspections department, Mr. Luter, or anybody. We always try to give people a chance to rehab their properties. And I think Mr. Luter wanted to give this gentleman a chance to rehab his property. Didn't happen twice. I think we've given enough chance to have this property rehabbed. As the board is aware, in our rehab agreements, there is a section that says, number one, nothing in this agreement avoids the demolition order. Two, nothing in this agreement, or I'm sorry, this agreement does not keep us to the 2-year requirement. And then also that it's up to the inspections department and this board at their sole discretion on whether or not to allow extensions. So I'm going to let Mr. Luter or Mr. Farrell also address the board on behalf of the city before Abel can respond to the city's position, but it's the city's position that the rehab agreement should not be extended any further and that we should be allowed to move forward with demolition. So I don't know if Bill, you've got anything you want to say or?
Good morning. And
Morning.
I agree with everything that Attorney Smith has said. The property itself, I think in my report actually recommended that it'd be better off being demolished, but as we know, if you have enough money, anything is salvageable. The house is missing, one whole wall is ready to cave in, the ceiling has collapsed in portions. He had some great ideas of what he wanted to do with the house. My recommendation to him was tear it down and build the house he wants instead of using this as the anchor. And I tend to agree. We've had no, not even a bond posted. We've had no communication since the previous board hearing where the extension was granted. There's been no contact since, and I tend to agree that we shouldn't extend another agreement.
Sir?
I got the house probably like in November, and I paid the bond on December. And this is the thing, our work got really slow, and we don't have enough just to hire the contractors to build the roof. Now our company is picking up. I was asking if he can give me a second chance just to complete this thing. I didn't bother to call Mr. Bill or anybody because, like I said, I was going through a slow season, December, January, really slow. And I don't know what else to say. I'm just hoping I get a second chance. I mean,
This is an interesting case for me because I've actually been in that house.
yes,
I was amazed when the idea of rehabilitating the house came before us in the first place. I didn't think that was even possible. But I do know that you've had a couple months now and nothing's been done. And you could have at least pulled permits at this point or something like that, and nothing's
and call
been done.
somebody for
Right.
estimates.
Yeah, the house is in really bad shape. Like I said, I've been in the house. I'm sure you've been in the house. So I don't know that I agree that giving you more time would get us any further because I'm not sure rehabilitating the house is the way to go. So that's my thoughts on it initially. But if we were to extend you any time, what time frame are you looking at?
If you can give me like 3 months, I can guarantee that by next week I can find a guy who's going to do the roof. And I'm looking for contracts that work in only Hammond, Indiana, because I got contracts, but they're in the city of Chicago, and I just follow whatever Mr. Bill told me. That hire a company that had a license to build anything right here. And that's what I'm going to do if you can give me at least enough time so I can put a roof, and then I can be in contact. This is my first time getting a property like this, and like I said, I don't want to have it like that. I just want to fix it. And the other question, I mean that our company got really slow in December and January, and there was completely no customers. Now it's picking up, so we can work. We can start all over and have the income to fix it.
Another concern I have is that you never had a bond posted. 2 rehab agreements, no bond.
You know what we did?
He said he did in December. That's
Yeah,
what he said. I don't know if that's the case.
December 3, and we paid $10,000.
Do you have the receipt for that with you?
You know what? I didn't bring it with me, but
Okay, if you said you did
And we got the bank check,
So
the
you posted 10,000.
10,000, yes.
All right, that's news to me. I mean, I'm glad that was posted because theoretically we can use it for the demo. But, you know,
I don't think we
I have
should, it's not rehab.
considerable concerns about this property. If you look at I mean, we
Yeah.
can't even get the yard picked up. I mean, I could go out there with two of my kids and go pick up the yard. It's just absolute, kind of like, you know what? We're gonna do it, but we're not gonna do it. There's no reason that he couldn't comply with at least cleaning the yard up. And it hasn't been done. We have a considerable concern about this, and I'm not saying that he's a bad guy or anything. I'm just saying he hasn't complied with what he's agreed to do, and we not only gave him one chance, we gave him 2 chances. Because the agreement got extended once,
Which is,
since November, and it expired. Yeah.
I think, let's make the recommendation to not extend the agreement.
I mean, the other thing I would say is that if this gentleman had a plan, you got to bring it in and show it, like, here's the contract I have signed, here's the contractors I have lined up. If that's the case, fine. You know, I mean, it's just the city's position that I think we've waited too long. If the board would entertain anything, I would say it would be a week to say, like, bring your contracts in, bring the contractors, show me what's going on. But I would leave that to the board's discretion. And I don't know if Mr. Luter has anything else.
No, I was going to add, I do believe when this came up in November, there was discussion between Attorney Smith and myself about whether or not the property should be, because we were at the point, we were ready to, permits were actually issued to demolish the property, and we had to hold it because we were waiting for the rehab, for him to begin rehab. We can't push another permit down the road for them because of state standards.
Well, I tend to agree with Attorney Smith. The backyard, I mean, this stuff, the pictures are clear. That, the weather's been decent enough.
And it's been like that
That could have
since my
been
first
cleaned up.
inspection.
That has nothing to do with the contractor, like he said. So I will entertain a recommendation from Ms. Greenwell.
may I say something?
I mean, not, yes.
If you give me 1 week, I will take care of the whole backyard and.
Sure, listen, I appreciate your honesty, and I appreciate the fact that you're coming here fighting for the property, but there's some things we have major concerns about, and I don't think giving another week is going to make that any better. So, again, I will entertain a recommendation.
The recommendation I'd recommend is, the recommendation I'd request is the denial of the extension of the rehab agreement, because we already have that word. If he'd like to bring a request for release of his bond, I think the board could entertain that.
Yes,
It's a lot of-
we certainly would.
Yeah, and so if he'd like to request that through the Board of Works, or, through Linda, he can do that, and of course it'll be on the agenda.
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
Because he can, and by the way, and this is for anybody listening, the city doesn't take possession of the land. Mr. Abel has the land, he'll own the land, he can build a new house there, and I hope he does. It's just that this home is in too bad a shape to rehab.
It's recommendation of the board that we deny the extension of the rehab agreement at this time.
And I concur. Sir, good luck in the future, okay? Is there any other matters from department heads or their representatives?
I do have, Ms. Botello did show up on 5554 Walter, so if we
Okay.
can have her up. And this is Irene Botello, the owner of 5554 Walter. It's my understanding that she has a rehab agreement now. She's owned the property for about 8 or 9 years, and she's brought some photos. Okay, can I just show them these?
Yeah.
Okay. She does have a contractor lined up. The reason she's before the board, 2 reasons. One, I want her to have to sign the rehab agreement, which I believe she's going to review and do.
No.
And then secondly, she's asked for a waiver of the bond. I've explained to her that the reason that the city likes to have a bond is that 2 reasons. One, as you just heard, we can potentially use it for the demo of a property if you don't comply with the rehab agreement. And secondly, it is usually incentive for somebody to do the work,
Right.
so that they know that their $10,000 is on the line. Ms. Botello is a resident of the city. She lives over on Claude?
Yeah.
She lives on Claude, so she's not far from there. And it's my understanding she's trying to get the place fixed up for her son to live in, right? So Yep. Yeah, you will. Yeah, in a second, Nick, or I'm sorry, Rich, in one sec. And so the board can consider the waiver. We don't usually do it, but if we need it, what we have done in the past is to do a reduced bond, even if it's just a little bit, to at least have something on the books. But I'll leave that to the board's discretion. I know Mr. Castro wants to speak on this matter as well.
No, but we've reduced it. We can reduce it.
Rich, go ahead.
Okay.
10,000, maybe 20.
Yes, this property's actually been a nuisance in the neighborhood for approximately 6 years now.
Uh-huh.
Almost the whole time I've been working with the inspections department. We've had to do cut and cleans on it from time to time. There's stop work orders that have been posted for work that was done inside the property without permits and without contractors. So, and in my previous conversations with Ms. Botello, she told me she doesn't live on Claude. She didn't live in the city. She lived in Dyer. She always claimed she wouldn't get notifications of any of the notices we were sending out because the county showed it as living on Claude. So,
I live in Dyer. I've been living in Dyer, and that the certification, their certified letter was sent to Claude. So I wasn't able to see what was happening.
So where are you going to address?
It's 18 Columbia Avenue.
So I'm not inclined to, no. Yeah.
So I caught it. They called me and let me know. So now I'm here. The house been sitting for 6 years, but I had my dad, my father-in-law living there. But the gas and light got shut off, and so it's been off for about 6 months. And then when we got an inspection, they wouldn't turn it on. But this was around COVID time, so I didn't have time. I haven't had money to finish it at the time.
So, attorneys, I don't feel like we should reduce the amount, especially since she doesn't reside in Hammond. That would have made me at least consider it, but the fact that she doesn't, I'm not inclined to do that, unless somebody wants to make an argument why we should.
I mean, I think the only thing I would say is that, we always want to try to save property.
Absolutely.
That rehab.
Right.
We've entertained situations where people are of limited means, but do want to get it up and going. So I think that would be the only thing I would, maybe you can question Ms. Botello about why she wants the reduction and determine whether or not you want to give it or not. But that would be the only reason. I mean, we definitely like to have something there to make sure that, that we have something if we need to demo it, or that we have a hook, for lack of a better term, on somebody under the rehab agreement.
So what amount would we consider? Instead of 10,000, 2,500, or half, 5,000?
Irene, do you know how much you could put up? And you'll get it back as long as you do the work.
I know, yeah.
Maybe 2,500 I could probably do.
Without getting too in detail about your financial situation, is there a reason why you can't afford the 10,000 like everybody else has to pay?
Well, I'm on government assistance now, so whatever I get my taxes, that's what I'm going to be using.
Okay, but you can do 2,500.
The only thing the other thing I would mention is that we have had people put up surety bonds. You lose the amount of money you have to pay for the surety, but, because you won't get that back from
Right.
the bond company. And those are sometimes difficult to get. That probably would be under $2,500 to pay for the surety bond, and we could assist her with that.
Right.
And maybe if you want to give her a couple weeks, maybe we'll set it for status, and then we can give her some time to look at the rehab agreement, decide what she wants to do.
Would you like to look at that option once you understand it?
Yeah,
Okay, so 2 weeks?
Yeah, let's do 2 weeks.
16.
16th,
yeah,
March 16th?
We're just going to just say.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'll reveal this.
yeah, make that, yeah.
That's 555.
5554 Walter, yeah.
Why did you get this one?
We can talk after.
Okay, we're going to make that,
Give those photos. I'll give
yeah, yep, sorry. Okay, yep, you're good.
I'll make a recommendation that we set this for status for March 16th of 2023.
And I concur.
Okay, you have time to get back.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other matters from department heads or their representatives? Okay, moving on, correspondence, letter A. Correspondence received from Dean Button, Capital Improvements Board, requesting $12,000 of CIB funding to be allocated for the supplemental design services for state line street closures and supplemental agreement number 1 with First Group Engineering submitted for approval.
Thank you. CIB met last week to set money aside for this project. This is the bid that was just opened. Board may recall that this was the third time we had bid this project because each of the previous bids came over budget. This is well within the budget we had planned to establish based upon the low bidder. We're referring that to our consultant for review and tabulation recommendation. So the effort that the consultant had to do the work we're covering this cost for the multiple rebids. And so we'd ask for your approval. The green sheet was signed by the mayor and the city controller.
Yes.
And we'd ask for your approval of the green sheet, the funding allocation, and the supplemental agreement.
I recommend approval of the green sheet, funding allocation, and supplemental report.
And I concur.
Thank you.
Letter B, correspondence received from Dean Button requesting $19,000 of CIB funding to be allocated for the supplemental design services for 165th Street and State Line Improvement and Supplemental Agreement Number 1 with First Group Engineering submitted for approval.
First Group has a design to improve that intersection. We know that River Oaks Drive eastbound is sort of a difficult, people sort of miss the turn. So we have an agreement with them to work on that. I had an interim solution that is not making any progress, so I've asked First Group for their assistance to get us through that, which is to design and coordinate some improvements, particularly with the city of Calumet City as they approach the intersection, and then to do some improvement, some simple improvements that could be done at the intersection, coordinate with that, and we can put quotes together for those improvements. So I'd ask for your approval of this action.
Okay, and I will point out again that it was signed by the city controller and the mayor, the green sheet.
So, Dean, we need the green sheet and the funding allocation
ma'am.
and all that. Okay, recommendation to approve the green sheet, funding allocation, and supplemental report for 165th Street and State Line.
And I will concur.
Thank you.
Letter C, correspondence received from Dean Button requesting $50,000 of CIB funding to be allocated for general engineer services with First Group Engineering and corresponding agreement submitted for approval.
Yeah, I forget to mention that Scott Pruitt with First Group Engineering is in the audience if there's any questions on any of these actions. We basically do a biennial agreement with First Group for general engineering services. They help us a lot with traffic related concerns, signage, those sorts of things. And so whenever we have something that we can't do in-house, we have them help us with those sorts of traffic issues. So I'd ask for your approval of the funding allocation and the supplemental agreement.
Okay, and again, I will point out that it was signed by the controller and the mayor.
Recommendation to approve the funding allocation and supplemental report of First Group Engineering.
Thank you.
And I concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Letter D, correspondence received from Dean Button requesting $10,445.57 of CIB funding to be allocated for the Chicago Street Phase 2 and change orders number 6 through 10 with Indiana Department of Transportation submitted for approval.
So I'd like to let you know that this is really good news. This board had approved change orders 1 through 5 at 100%. It turns out that NERC has some supplemental funding, so they're going to fund 80% of those first actions. So our exposure to the first action was reduced to 20%, which is good news. I want to say it was in the $10,000 range, something like that. So this is change orders 6 through 10, which is also being funded at 80% federal and 20% local match. So this represents the 20% funding. On the change orders, the cover sheet mentions the reasons for the change orders. There was some supplemental milling that we needed to do to transition in from the old Sheffield to the new Sheffield that I had requested among some supplemental water work. And so 20 cents on the dollar is a good deal, and I would ask that you approve the funding allocation and the change orders.
Okay, and again, I will point out they both were signed by the city controller and the mayor.
Recommendation to approve the green sheet and change orders as submitted.
And I will concur.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Button. Letter E, correspondence received from William Short, Chief of Police, requesting approval for the resignation of probationary officer Philip J. Mason, effective the close of February 25th, 2023.
Recommendation to approve the correspondence from Chief Short.
And I concur. Letter F, correspondence received from Assistant Chief of Police requesting the approval of disciplinary action, notice of disciplinary action, and right to a hearing and reinstatement submitted for approval.
Recommendation to approve the correspondence received from the Assistant Chief.
And I concur. Let's see here. Letter G, correspondence received from Felix Gonzalez, Director of Public Works, requesting no dumping and no parking signs be placed at 925 Drackert, submitted for approval.
I don't see anybody from Public Works here. I don't know if this was a temporary or permanent request.
It doesn't really say much. It just says we are requesting, that's all it says. We just don't know if it's city property, if we have the ability to put them on there.
Yeah, I think we need further information. If we could defer that
Yeah,
now.
there's really
so-
nothing much else on here, so.
And probably we should, obviously let Councilman know once we make an action.
Kevin, you want to look at this?
Sure.
You want to look at this? Maybe that'll, he's got like a,
So, looks like it's privately owned. I know the name because we've had a lot of tax deeds and demos
with them.
with them. They're out of Alcoa. They own a bunch of property.
I think
I think we need to defer this. I need to talk to Felix about this.
yeah, I think we need him here too. Defer it to next week.
Yeah, next week's fine.
Okay.
Recommendation to defer information on 925 Drackert to our next meeting on March 9th.
And I will concur. Make sure he's here, yeah. She'll make sure. Letter H, correspondence received from Ron Novak requesting approval of the proposed license agreement and right-of-way permit with Hessville Gas Mart Incorporated and its representative, AP Engineering and Consultant Incorporated, to allow access to city property to perform additional environmental sampling at the various properties.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Deborah Malone, Chief Engineer with Hammond Department of Environmental Management, covering for Ron Novak. Before you should have the proposed license agreement for the property located adjacent to the Hessville Gas Mart, which is located at 3151 Orchard Drive in Hammond, and the adjacent property is located at 7324 Carolina Avenue, 7309 Parish Avenue, 3144 173rd Street. The purpose of this license agreement is to provide the licensee, which is Hessville Gas Mart, and the representative, AP Engineering and Consultant, Inc., access to the city property that is adjacent to the Hessville Gas Mart, where a petroleum release occurred last January 2022. The Indiana Department of Environmental Management has asked that additional sampling be done with soil.
He needs you to pull that mic. There you go.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Additional sampling for the soil and groundwater be performed in order to determine the extent of contamination that could be in that area.
Okay.
The Hammond Department of Environmental Management asks that the board approve this license agreement.
Okay. You have any concerns, Kevin? You good?
No, sir.
Okay.
Recommendation to approve the proposed license agreement and right-of-way permit submitted by environmental.
The right-of-way will be covered under new business
Okay.
B.
Okay. Should I rescind that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, to rescind that recommendation, the recommendation will now be to approve the proposed license agreement as submitted.
And I will concur. Letter I, correspondence received from Brian Miller, Director of Public Safety, Purdue University Northwest, requesting permission to hold their third annual 5K Power Onward Community Walk Run event on April 1st, 2023, from 8:30 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. with attached route. Additionally, requesting assistance from Hammond Emergency Management for traffic control. No issues. Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Recommendation to approve Brian Miller's request.
And I will concur. Letter J, correspondence received requesting rental registration hearing. March 16th.
Recommendation to move the rental registration hearings to March 16th of 2023.
Just to set it for that day. Okay, I will concur. Number 8, matters from board members. Do you have anything? Okay. Moving on to new business. Letter A, appointment of Donald Kalina to serve as a member of the Board of Public Works and Safety commencing February 16, 2023. Okay, well, I'll acknowledge the receipt of that letter. Thank you. Letter B, right-of-way permits received from engineering submitted for approval. Mr. Gordish.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So there are 2 permits. One is along with the environmental management, because what they're doing is setting wells in a right-of-way, monitoring wells. So they needed to get a right-of-way permit and also the agreement for the city. So I would recommend approval on that one. And the only other one is Michigan Avenue, US 20 over Kennedy. They are designing that bridge and requested to do some borings, sampling of the soil. So I would recommend that.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mark.
Okay. Recommendation to approve the right-of-way permits as submitted.
And I will concur. Letter C, resolution and intergovernmental agreement for funding of Summer Street project with Hammond Sanitary District and Hammond Water Works Department submitted for approval.
This is a intergovernmental agreement between 3 parties, sanitary, water, and the city. Much credit to our city engineer, Mr. Button, on getting this worked out with those entities. This is kind of the goal of the administration, is to share costs when we're doing projects, and that includes sanitary doing their part, water doing their part, and of course the city doing our part. And this lays that out, and I believe you should have signatures by both water and I hope sanitary. And if you do, great. I'd request its approval as presented.
Okay. Recommendation to approve the intergovernmental agreement as submitted.
And I will concur. Letter D, plat of re-subdivision of Luke's 267 addition received from Planning Department submitted for approval. Plat, yeah. Hi, Brian.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
This is a simple request for approving a subdivision plat. All of the zoning and Board of Zoning Appeals matters have been dealt with. This is what will happen in the project is they're actually reconstructing an existing gas station. And one of the great things is reducing the number of pumps from 12 to 8. And the second lot that's being created is for future development for a 2-unit retail building yet to be determined.
Thank you.
Recommendation to approve the plat and re-subdivision as submitted.
And I will concur. Moving on to old business, letter A, status 5235 State Line. This is the other one.
All right. Unfortunately, this is another situation. Mr. Flores was here last week. This is another situation where a rehab agreement, which is currently, I can tell you exactly when it was originally signed. Been a year, okay. It was approved by this board on February 10th of 2022. Mr. Flores did post a bond of $10,000. This is the old music studio on State Line Avenue. There's been no work done, no permits pulled that we know of. The property is still in disrepair. It's also on the back side of a school. Hammond Academy sits right behind it. The garage is in really poor shape, at least last photos I've seen. I don't know what happened with the awning. I know at some point it was leaning really badly down. Okay, so it's gone now because of the windstorm. But at this time, because there's been no work on the property, we'd request that the city be allowed to demolish the property. And I guess Mr. Flores could, of course, he's going to be able to respond under the agreement that we have with the board. It does allow the city to, and I'm repeating myself from earlier, not extend the agreement, utilize the bond, and move forward with the demolition. So I'll let Mr. Castro finish up for the city's position, and then I'll let Mr. Flores, of course, have the floor for as long as he needs to.
Yeah, since the rehab agreement was signed last year, there's still been issues with trash along the outside of the property and cars parking on the driveway side of it. I believe somebody's parking it from the neighborhood, but there hasn't been no movements at all. There was a squatter in the property at one time earlier last year, but it's been boarded up since, and no movement since.
So we're confident that nothing's been done since February of 22?
Yes. Well, Mr. Flores was here last week. He mentioned that he had hired contractors that disappeared on him.
Okay?
But myself and Mr. Luter both asked him for information about that. We haven't received anything on that yet. But he has been in now with the new contractor that's ready to start. So, it's gonna be up to you guys in the city if they wanna do it.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yes, I would still like to rehab the old Judy's Music Place. I do have a contract now with Mr. Soto, and talking to him, I have not made the plans yet because I want to get your guys approved, but I already have an engineer and architect ready to make the plans for this building going forward. And like I said, it's going to be a complete rehab, and we are hoping to have the bottom floor as a type of business and the top floor residential. So that way it'll help out Hammond in general, bringing in more business along that line. And I know it's behind the school, so that's why we'd rather fix it and try and have like a nice little store or restaurant there in the future. That was our thought for that location. But unfortunately, like was said, yes, we had some people flake out on us. But unfortunately, I wasn't in part of those deals. Those were my father's deals, so he's getting me the information so I can let you guys know. But moving forward, that's all in the past now. If I can have your permission, I have Mr. Soto here to also speak on my behalf, if you'd let him.
Well, the question,
I'm sorry.
sorry, go ahead, Kev.
The question I had was, you mentioned it was your dad's deal.
Yeah.
Are you Martin Flores?
Yes,
Are you the owner of the property?
yes.
Has your dad ever owned the property?
He owned it in the beginning,
Meaning, how long ago?
when he first purchased the building,
How long ago was that?
3 years ago, I believe. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, you signed the rehab agreement, though?
Yes, I did.
Because you were the owner at the time.
Yes, and I also posted the $10,000.
That's all the questions I have.
So why are we a year, we're 13 months roughly from when you signed it and nothing's been done? Please explain that to me.
Yes. Like I was saying, I do go out there and pick out the trash sometimes, but apparently not enough to really make a difference. But the reason that hasn't been done is, like I said, we were having trouble with contractors. So then we slowed down and tried to make sure that we got the right contractor so so we wouldn't get ripped off again. But unfortunately, things slowed down, and then I am working a full-time job at a grocery store right now, so I really can't have my hands inside the business. So my dad's been taking care of it, but he's also been busy with other things. But like I said, it was mainly trying to find the right contractor that we could trust, and it wasn't until we found Mr. Soto that gave us, the confidence that, that we can finally move forward without having to, fear for us losing in any way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, it took this long, and I do apologize, but hopefully I can move forward with this with your permission.
So you still have to come up with plans, correct?
Yes, we already have plans, and we're going to be in talks. We're already talking to an architect, thank
Yeah.
you, and an engineer. It's just that we don't want to invest the money if we're, going to get demolished, if that makes sense. Or, yes.
I have a question that maybe, I'd like to know if the city planner needs to review the site plan, go through
To see if we can
zone
even,
property.
yeah, right.
Whether or not it's, going to be, that takes time. And I guess my concern is that all these things could have been done over the last year.
Right.
And if he's having issues with contractors, contact the inspections department and say, hey, I need an extension on my rehab agreement. So, these are all things that I think responsible property owners need to do, which is keep in contact, understand what the process is. Don't come in at the last minute and say, hey, I want to make a restaurant, I want to do this, when you haven't even gone to the city planner. You don't have any site plans that have been reviewed yet. And so, I'm kind of a little torn on this one because, it's a commercial area where we do want to see some work done.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have viable businesses on State Line than empty lots. But in this situation, it's just been a while. I don't know if Mr. Luter has anything to update. I know he did the original inspection.
No, that was actually done by Inspector Hunt.
Okay, Heine did everything, so.
So if we, because I'm kind of with you, I'm inclined to give him a little rope, very little, to see some plans, because I know Mr. Soto, and I know he's very trustworthy, obviously, which is why I'm even considering this, to be honest with you. So in your mind, you have the funding for whatever work you're going to do?
Yes, we do.
That's not an issue?
Not an issue, no. The
Okay.
capital has never been an issue. It's just, unfortunately, the fear of being, losing out, being ripped off was the only
Okay,
thing.
so
that was-
you have the funding, you
Yeah.
have a very good contractor, so now what is the timetable that you're expecting on this?
We hope to start immediately, and I know that we can give an update within 3 months of starting. Because Mr. Soto has already informed me that he will be doing all the updates and everything going forward.
I think he had us until you went 3 months.
Well,
You're going to have to give us something faster
Oh,
than
yeah.
3 months.
definitely, I can get you the plans as soon as possible.
Can we ask Mr. Soto?
Yes.
Yes.
So I just want to ask Mr. Soto what his thoughts are on the timetable. If we, like, let's say today we said, go ahead, how long would the work take? Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, of course.
Can you guys step up to the mic? Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Dígale que en los 3 meses ya pienso tener la plomería, electricidad y el furnace y todo ya.
He said in 3 months he will have the plumbing, electricity, and the furnace ready already.
Okay, what about total?
Que el total, todo. ¿Cuánto le da en total que tenga todo ya listo?
4 meses, 5 meses.
4 meses? 4 months or 5 months between there. That's how he thinks.
Yeah, I'm just curious in the timeline, if we were to say, like, if the site plan was approved, if Mr. Poland was okay with the use, if it doesn't have to go through zoning and planning, what would be the timeline for Mr. Soto to complete it? And it sounds like that's 4 months. So, which is fine, right? I mean, we just need to know. And it seems like he's got a contract signed. I wish Mr. Poland was still here, but he's not, because that's the key, is we need to have him weigh in on site plan, the use.
Well, can we do something in the 30-day range to give him time to do that?
I'd like to set it for another week.
A week, okay?
Let him, to make sure Mr. Poland's present.
Okay.
And to have him meet with either Tom Novak or Brian Poland within that week, maybe 2 weeks, whatever.
Well, is
Stop downstairs on the way out.
is he going to have plan? Is he going to have his plan in his mind in a week? I mean, can you come up back to the mic, Mr. West?
Perfect time.
Yes.
This might work out right now then. So we need you to explain to Mr. Poland
Yes.
exactly what you have in mind for that address. That's what he's going to have to tell us, yeah. I don't know either. I would assume yes, but.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry, Jeff.
No, that's okay. I
Yeah,
was waiting for what he was going to say.
What I was going to ask Mr. Poland, and I'm sorry to put him on the spot like this, because he literally responded to a text and I asked him to come back up. This is owned by this gentleman, this is the owner. Oh. Right. And he is looking to rehab it, but I want to know what the process would be from your office to review site plan, architect drawings, anything like that, and how long that would take. To give him permission for, he's got a contract already.
Because, Brian, he's mentioned that he would like to do something like a restaurant at the bottom and residential at the top, as a possibility.
Or like a
Yes.
quick store.
Kind of a quick store, yeah.
Okay, well, the property is zone C3 Central Business District. In that district, we do allow residential on the upper floors, but that is a conditional use process through the Board of Zoning Appeals. Just by looking at the picture, that it appears that this was a two-flat building that probably was residential on both, and perhaps the first floor, yeah, the microphone kicks in.
Yeah, yeah.
The first floor probably was converted to commercial at some point in time. Generally, I don't, average retail office, those are the things that would probably work in a building like that. Restaurant, my answer starts to cross into building code issues, and I'll let the building department confirm this, but it is going to bring up fire separation issues, ADA access to get into the building, and just literally, those types of code issues. When it comes to site plan review, we would look at that, make sure the parking is there, make sure that it's paved properly and drained properly, and then if there's any landscaping requirements that kick in. As far as timing, that would really depend upon literally what we have,
Right.
when it's presented to us, and how if something in the details pop up that we'd have to investigate.
Okay.
So it sounds like what we really need is Mr. Flores, to keep Mr. Flores' feet to the fire regarding the site plan, and he's gonna have to spend a little money with an architect to get that information to Mr. Poland, and then as long as Mr. Soto understands that this, he's not gonna be able to start work until all this gets approved. You know, if you want, like you mentioned, if you wanna give him a little bit of time, the city has no objection to that, but I mean, we need to see this moving, so maybe like a
2 weeks, yeah.
status, and to see where he's at in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Does he have the site plan? Does he have the architectural drawings? Because at any step of the way, if we're not seeing progress, I mean, that's it. It's just like, pull it, we're gonna knock it down, that's it.
That's what I want you to understand, Mr. Flores. If we're giving you this opportunity, if there's any point we stop doing what you're supposed to be doing, we're going to demolish the building. So I want to make sure you're clear on that.
Understood.
Going forward, okay?
Yes.
So we're going to, you're available in 2 weeks? We're going to continue this for 2 weeks?
2 weeks, same time, Thursday, 9 a.m.?
2 weeks, same time as Thursday,
course.
on the 16th, yes.
Yes, of course.
Mr. Luter mentioned that Mr. Soto would like to get a dumpster out there to do some work on just cleaning out something. Mr. Luter doesn't have an objection to that. I don't think Mr. Farrell does. So if we could just mention that we give him permission to do that. But it has nothing, I just want everybody to understand, that's not a waiver of our demolition order or anything.
Gotcha, okay.
Recommendation to set this for status for March 16th of 2023 and allowing the property owner to put a dumpster on the property to do some cleanup.
Please.
And I will concur. Good luck, Mr. Flores. Stay with
Thank you
it,
very
okay?
much. I appreciate all the help. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, old business still, letter B, status for 843 Logan. Revoke bond.
Good morning to the board. This was a property that is under a rehab agreement, and I believe it was the request of the inspections department to revoke the bond for failure to comply with the rehab agreement. I don't have my file with me, I'm sorry, but maybe Mr. Luter or Mr. Castro could shed some light on this.
Yes. This was the project, 843 Logan. The rehab agreement had recently expired. The contractor hadn't called in any inspections on the work that had been done. This is the one where it had an outside stairwell that had to be removed. They're supposed to be converting the 2-unit back to a single-family home. I stopped by yesterday and the owner was present there. I notified him of today's hearing. The contractor also started calling in inspections this week. I believe Mr. Luter's going either today or tomorrow to do inspections. So they're now here to request. They misunderstood the agreement because they had permits for the property, so they figured with the permits it would have extended the agreement. So now they're asking for an extension on the rehab agreement.
So it sounds like because there's work been done and now they're kind of they know what they need to do.
Yeah.
And they have inspections scheduled based on what Mr. Luter and Mr. Castro just told me, that I don't have any problem reinstating the bond and extending the rehab agreement. What we'll do is get them a document so that can be put in front of the board. And I don't know if Mr. Luter or Mr. Castro have a recommendation how much time that they need to finish the work and the inspection.
Probably just 90 days for now to make sure we keep them.
Well, we already did have the work. The most important things, we did the beams and the stairs.
Right, but that's not the entire rehab agreement, right?
No,
Yeah, we're talking about the entire project.
Well, we were getting, one of them was the windows, but I fixed the window and then they broke 3.
Okay.
So, and then they kicked down the doors and they started messing up more things with the house, so it's taking us longer.
But it's only like minor repairs.
The gutters, the aluminum.
Right. The chimney. I saw somebody put some bricks up there
Yeah.
yesterday when I was there, but.
Yeah, and then the trash in the back, which I have to clean
Yeah.
today.
Okay.
So what we'll do then at this point is, the city's withdrawing its request to revoke the bond, and we'll get a document in front of the board next week so that it can be signed. As soon as you sign it, we'll have it in front of the board, they'll sign it, you get 90 days. Okay?
So do we need to set something for June 1st or 8th, somewhere in that range?
Well, you know what, let's do it once we get the the amendment
Okay.
signed.
So right now, we're
Nothing
just
to do today.
reinstating the bond.
Correct, nothing, yeah, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Recommendation to reinstate the bond for 843 Logan.
and I will concur. Okay, stay with it, okay? Okay.
Be in touch with the department so they can get
Letter
the
C,
new rehab.
status for 4440 Torrance Avenue. Goodness gracious.
This was originally owned by Christopher Medina. This was the last of those 3 properties on Torrance. Hi, are you the new owner? Yes. Oh, what's your name?
morning.
Morning.
My name's Heriberto Mendez. I became the owner last month on the 19th.
Heriberto?
Yes, sir.
Mendez?
Yes.
Okay, just make sure you leave, before you leave today, you leave me your information, okay?
Sounds good. Yeah, so, so I am aware now that the property was in list of demolition for some reason. All I'm here just to ask for somebody to go inspect the property, let me know if there's any more work that needs to be done, what I need to do, because eventually I want to use it as a rental property.
Okay.
And the property is not in bad shape at all. I don't know why it was in demolition, but previous owners looked like they did some work, because they did pull permits for plumbing and electricity. By the looks of it, most of it has been done. The house is almost ready to go, you know? So I just want an inspector to go out there, tell me if I'm missing anything, what they need me to do, get it done, and that's all.
So I think what probably happened was, this one was kind of like the one lingering over for Mr. Medina, and apparently there was a bunch of interior work done. It may have been done without permits, but that's not Mr. Mendez's fault. Mr. Luter would like a couple weeks to go out there and do an inspection, and if it passes everything, we'll probably have an order to rescind. So if we could set this for that 16th.
Recommendation to set this for status for March 16th of 2023.
And I will concur.
So
Come back on the 16th.
let's come back on the 16th?
Yeah, he's going to go look at your property and find out exactly the questions you had. He's going to answer those for you.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Moving on to number 11, rental registration hearings. 4325 Elm Avenue.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I tried to apply for a rental registration, and they told me that I was supposed to apply for a vacant home last year. I didn't know. That's why I'm here. I bought the property in December 2021.
So we're here with this property at 4325 Elm. He's been the owner since December 28th, 21. It's a single-family home, and we're appealing for 2022 as it would have been the first time he would have had to register the property.
Yes.
What happened, sir? Did you know you had to register?
I thought about renting this year, and I look into it, and my wife said, you have to do this registration because I'm new. I never did this. And I apply, and now they say, what happened last year? Nothing happened. So
Okay.
here to...
So because it's the first time, you just didn't know?
I didn't
Is
know
that what
about
you're saying?
the vacant. I found out about even this.
I will tell you, sir, that going forward, you have to make sure that you remind yourself that between January 1st and April 15th, that you do this every year, because we only extend this courtesy one time of waiving the late fee,
Okay.
which we're going to probably do today, but then make sure you don't do it again, okay?
Every year.
Every year, every
Got
year.
it.
You got 3.5 months to do it every year,
Okay.
okay? Go ahead.
Recommendation to waive the rental, the late fee for 4325 Elm.
And I will concur. Sir, if you want to wait till the meeting's over with, you can pay the $5 for 2022, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on, 410 through 410 and a half Detroit Street. Good morning.
My name is Marisa Vega Suarez. I purchased the property in August of last year. I was not aware that I had to do the registration. If I was aware, I would have paid for it. The only reason I found out was because the previous owner actually sent me a text with a card that they received for the registration. So here I am, and I found it that I would have paid if I would have known.
Any thoughts on that, Nick?
Yeah, so we have Ms. Suarez as the owner of the property since August 29th of 22. This is a 2-unit property, and she's appealing for 2022. So it would appear that whenever you purchase a property, you have 30 days after the purchase date to register it. Within that time period, or submit an affidavit. So that's why it would have been our first time having to register this location. And although it's listed as 410 through 410 and a half, the address is recognized by Lake County as just 410 Detroit, and then they would assign suites like 1 and 2 or A and B as such. So.
Okay. Ma'am, I'm sure you were listening when I talked to the person before you. We extend the courtesy one time. Just make sure going forward that you remember to register every year. Okay.
Recommendation to waive the late fee for 410 Detroit.
And I will concur. Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, letter C, 48 Detroit Street.
Mr. Amen? Seeing as the owner fails to appear, I would request that the board deny the appeal of the late fee. We have it on record as a single-family home for 2021 and 2022. However, the owner lists 48 Detroit Street as their home address as well as a rental address. So this may be a situation where we'll need to do an interior inspection to verify the number of units for occupancy. However, for the time being, I'd request that the board deny the appeal based on the owner's failure to appear.
You said it's for two units for 1 year, or 2 years for 1 unit?
We only have it listed as a single unit.
Gotcha. For 2 years though, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
I was going to ask him what his address was.
So we'll recommend to apply the late fee for both years.
Okay. Recommendation to apply the late fee for 21 and 22 for 48 Detroit.
And I concur. Okay, moving on, the letter D, 941 Michigan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd just like you to waive the fee if you would. I had planned for my kids to move into that house, and then my young adult kids said, no, we're staying with you, Dad, we like you, so.
Stay with you too.
Yeah, it's free, so later on in the year, I rented out the house and failed to put that in place, so.
All right, it's for 941 Michigan. Mr. Harvey's been the owner since October 22nd of 18. This is a single-family home. We're here today for 2022. However, in 2021, the board did approve an agreement to waive the late fees due to COVID, which were for 2020. So he missed 2020, came in front of the board in 21. They approved a waiver, like the agreements that we were signing at that point. And then we're here now for 2022.
Okay, but you said the reasoning for the one was for COVID?
It was basically
2020?
that year we had the
A lot of issues.
correct, yeah, and then we basically due to the fluctuation in hours and availability, we had a blanket agreement that we had property owners sign saying that, hey, we recognize that this is affecting everybody and the late fee. We'll present this to the board as an agreement between inspections and the owners to waive it this one time. Remember, you got to register it in the future. So this property did have that agreement assessed. Let's see, that was April 1st of 2021. If you would like to review the agreement, this is the wording.
So, Mr. Harvey, as you probably heard me say a couple times already, we usually only extend this courtesy once. Because of the COVID situation, I know that we had quite a few issues that year. So I'm inclined to extend it to you again.
Okay.
But I can tell you that it won't be extended a third time. So just make sure that every year, January 1st, April 15th, you come in and register. $5 is much cheaper than $500. I'm sure that we can agree on that. So that's my that's what my thoughts.
Recommendation to waive the late fee for 941 Michigan.
Thank you.
And I will concur.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
Y'all have a good
You want to
day.
wait till after the meeting, you can register.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Letter E, 7514 Jackson Avenue.
All right, 7514 Jackson is listed under the ownership of Mr. Winful. Seeing as the owner has failed to appear, I would request that the board deny the appeal of the late fee for this 3-unit property for 2022. There's also a homestead being claimed on the property address, which will be forwarded to Kevin Smith's office to attend to, as well as the amount owed.
Okay.
Recommendation to deny the waiver of the late fee for 7514 Jackson.
And I will concur.
Thank you.
Thank you. Letter F, 5957 Park Place. Are we rescheduling that one? To 3 now, okay. Gotcha.
We don't need a recommendation, do
No, yeah.
we? Okay. Recommendation to reschedule the hearing for the March 9th of 2023.
And I will concur. Thanks, Nick. No problem. Okay, number 12, meetings open to public. Would anybody like to speak?
Happy New Year to everyone.
How you doing?
All right. My name is Tony. They know my name.
They got to do it for the
Tony
mic.
Scott.
We know you well, but yeah.
Okay, I was coming out because the back alley of my, behind my house, can I come over and show you?
Yeah, I'll look at it real quick.
I talked to Pete Torres already about swiping and see how it's sinking in, about the cracking up.
Okay.
Trying to get it repaired.
That's right, you got to go back. What's your address again? I know it's Williams Street.
Yeah,
What's
22.
22 Williams?
Yeah.
And that's directly right behind your house?
Yes.
Okay. And has anybody, Councilman, do you know if anybody's talked to the street department or anything?
Not that I know. I just told them about it maybe a couple of days ago, so.
Then we will forward your concern to the street department.
Okay.
And get an answer for you.
Okay.
It might be an issue, yeah.
Right. And 26 William people, gone.
Okay, engineering, so we're going to forward it to engineering and street department.
Recommendation to forward the problem for 22 Williams in the alley to streets and engineering for review.
Got it, Linda? And I will concur. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay, again, would anybody else in the public like to speak? Good morning, Councilman.
Good morning. There's an issue on the 4700 block of Sheffield. That block is 20 miles per hour for traffic.
Okay.
As it connects to the 46 Chicago and then the 46, it starts at 35. So there's a resident complaining that when they get there to 35, of course, the 46 connects with Gosselin Street. There's a runabout there, but they're going faster, and sometimes they don't stop. Or anyway, they want those signs balanced, so they both read 20 miles an hour instead of 20 and 35.
Well, that's a Dean, but we're going to have to have the engineer involved in this.
Yeah, I see they're not here.
Yeah, we'll forward that, Councilman, and find out if it's supposed to be 20, 35, or somewhere in the middle. I would have assumed it would have been 35 myself, but it might be 20 or 25, so we'll have to look into it.
Okay, well, if they can balance them.
Yeah, exactly, one way or the other.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, so we'll forward that to engineering, Linda, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Recommendation to forward 47, the issues at 47 Sheffield speed signs to engineering for review.
And I concur. Anybody else in the public like to speak? Then you can.
Recommendation to adjourn.
And I will concur. Thank you, everyone.